Question number 2 says small cubes with the edge length of 1/4 inch will be packed into the right rectangular prism shown. How many small cubes are needed to completely fill the right rectangular prism? So, two different methods here to solving this. First method is to, and this is similar to when we did the problems with the brick walls, when we were filling the walls with bricks. So you could find the volume of the big box, find the volume of the small box, and then divide those two volumes to see how many of the small ones fit into the large one. So let's start with the large volume. I'm going to call that L. In order to find the volume, it's length times width times height. So we'd have to do 4.5 times 5 times 3 3/4. In order to multiply these, this is on the non-calculator section, I would turn them into improper fractions. 4 times 2 is 8 plus the 1 is 9/2 times 5/1 times, if we turn 3 3/4, that would be 4 times 3 is 12. 12 plus 3 is 15/4. If we multiply across the top, 9 times 5 is 45. 45 times 15 gives me 675. And if we multiply straight across the bottom, we get 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 4 is 8. So we get 675/8. Now if we take a look at the small box, and it's a 4th cube. So that means for the small one, we would have to do 1/4 times 1/4 times 1/4. 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. 4 times 4 is 16. 16 times 4 is 64. Our final step, since we want to know how many of the small one would fit into the big one, is we would need to take 675/8 and divide it by 1/64 to know how many 1/64 would fit into that bigger cube or box. Remember, when we divide fractions, we keep the first one the same, we change the sign, and we flip the second fraction. At this point, since it's non-calculator, I would definitely look into cross-reducing. 1 and 675 are going to have to stay the same, but I could flip the other way, which is the 8 and the 64. 8 goes into 8 one time. 8 goes into 64 8 times. You are then left with 675 times 8, which is 5,400, and 1 times 1 is 1. So your final answer should be, write that in the box, 5,400 small cubes will fit into the larger box. I just went over one method that you could possibly use to find out how many of those small cubes would fit into that larger rectangular prism. The other method is to look at the measurements or the dimensions. So down here it's 4.5. If each of these are 1/4 inch, you could ask yourself how many 1/4 inch are in 4.5. Well, in 4 whole, there are 16 fourths, because each hole has 4 fourths. So 4 times 4 is 16. Plus, there's a half. So you have to ask yourself how many 1/4 are in a half, and there are 2. So this side would be a total of 18 small cubes across. If we look at our width, it's 5. Again, each hole has 4 fourths. So 5 times 4 is 20. So this length would be 20. And then our height is 3 3/4. So in the 3, again, each hole has 4 fourths. So 3 times 4 is 12. Plus 3/4 is another 3, which is 15. So we could say our height would be 15 blocks. So then to find the volume, or how many would fit in there, you would simply take 18 times 20 times 15, and you would end up with the same answer. 5,400 small cubes would fit into the larger right rectangular prism. You can decide which method works best for you. Either one works and you get the same answer.